Let's begin with the global markets. In Asia, Chinese stocks closed higher on Tuesday, with the benchmark Shanghai Composite Index up 0.07%. Hong Kong stocks up 0.59%. The 225-issue Nikkei stock average dropped 0.30%. The U.S. dollar climbed to its gains on Monday following a strong U.S. July payrolls report. Oil prices fell on Monday as investors were concerned that a major oil exporters' output cut deal may not be effective enough. Gold futures on the COMEX division of the New York Mercantile Exchange rose slightly on Monday as investors digested sharp losses in the previous session and worried about further U.S. rate hikes. The UK government has denied agreeing on a figure to settle its divorce bill for leaving the EU. The rebuttal comes after a leak in the national press that Britain could offer about $47 billion to exit the union.
British Prime Minister Theresa May's official spokesperson said they didn't recognise the figure quoted in the Sunday Telegraph. Another British government spokesperson also said that London will meet its international responsibilities, but Britain would not pay more than it needs to. The EU has said that it won't discuss future trade relations with Britain until there is progress on the bill and other key issues. While the EU has not put an official estimate on the final bill, there is speculation that they could ask for well over $100 billion. The next round of talks are scheduled to take place at the end of this month.
According to World Trade Organization, the latest World Trade Outlook indicator points to global merchandise trade growth that will continue to strengthen in the third quarter of 2017.
WTO said that global export orders show signs of flattening, which could mean that upward momentum in trade growth may have peaked. If this is the case, trade growth would be expected to moderate later this year. These results are slightly stronger than the WTO's most recent trade forecast of April 12th, which anticipated moderate trade growth this year after weak expansion in 2016. The latest reading of 102.6 is higher than the previous reading of 102.2 issued in May this year, suggesting sustained momentum for trade growth. Readings of 100 indicate growth in line with medium-term trends. Readings greater than 100 suggest above-trend growth, while those below 100 indicate the reverse. The WTO also said the outlook indicator is not intended as a short-term forecast, although it does provide an indication of trade growth in the near future. Its main contribution is to identifying turning point and gauge momentum in global trade growth.
According to German Federal Statistics Office, Das Datus, the German industrial production fell unexpectedly in June for the first time after 5 consecutive rises.
The statistics says the industrial output was down by 1.1% from May after seasonal working day and price adjustment. The industrial production excluding energy and construction was down by 1.4%. The production of capital goods, intermediate goods and consumer goods all showed decreases. Energy production was up by 1.4%, while the production of construction decreased by 1%. Günther Oettinger, the European Union's Commissioner for Budget and Human Resources, said on Monday that the German automotive industry faces hefty fines if recent accusations of illegal collusion are proven true. Recent revelations by media reports suggest that leading German automotive brands including Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche and Daimler-owned Mercedes-Benz colluded illegally since the 1990s. More than 200 employees of the firms allegedly coordinated their technology, costs and suppliers, thus breaching antitrust and competition laws. According to the report, Daimler made a voluntary declaration of illicit behavior to competition authorities as early as 2013. The European Commission is currently investigating the accusations. Oettinger emphasized that European competition authorities would not grant any special treatment to big-name firms.
Egypt is aiming to support small and medium-sized companies as a way to speed up the country's economic reform.
Monday's reform session was opened by Egyptian investment minister as well as the new chairman of Egypt's stock exchange.
The main aim with deepening reform of the market is continuously supporting and financing the small and medium-sized companies. So these companies, when they grow, will bring more investments.
Nearly 270 companies are listed on the Egyptian exchange. Farid said he is planning new mechanisms to attract even more companies.
The global and international organizations measure the economics of any country by exchange market. So, in the upcoming period, the world will know that the economic reform in Egypt have been done successfully, and there's development in the results of the economic reform, which have been led by the president.
The government is also launching public shares of its state-owned companies in the next 3 to 5 years in the fields of petroleum, services, chemicals, shipping, maritime and real estate.
Indonesia's economy grew slightly slower than expected in the second quarter, although GDP still came in at a healthy 5% compared to last year. According to the Indonesian Statistics Bureau on Monday, the GDP figure of 5.01% is exactly the same as the previous quarter. It will be a disappointment to President Joko Widodo, who has promised to restore the country to 7% growth by 2019. The Indonesian government also expects growth to rise to 5.2% this year. Officials said the more sluggish growth was due to reduced prices of Indonesia's main commodity exports of coal and palm oil. However, it was helped by an improvement across the world, with growth picking up in China, the US, and Singapore, as well as June's Eid holiday.
Communication experienced two-digit growth because of significantly increasing of internet data consumption and additional consumers. It also boosted transportation growth as there were additional trains and flat roads.
Information and communication had the most rapid growth in the quarter, with the sector up by 10% compared to last year. Liu Zhenmin, former Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of China, assumed the office as UN Under-Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs on August 1st. Right after he took office, CNC speaks to him.
Noting that a new round of anti-globalization revived since last year, Liu said the economic globalization is irreversible due to the establishment of the International Division of Labor and the volume of international trade.
In fact, countries that question the economic globalization can hardly escape the process.
Liu said one of his priorities in this tenure is to help UN member states to implement the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda.
In the process of realizing sustainable development, many countries don't know what they should do. Some developing countries and small island countries still lead a primitive agricultural economy, while 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development applies the same to every country. It wouldn't be hard for those countries to realize the goal. Helping developing countries with their capacity building is also an important work for us.
Liu said climate change is a significant challenge facing the international community and is affecting the course of global development.
There's only one Earth. If emission is not checked, if we don't change our lifestyle, our environment would be worse off.
Speaking of China's role in global development, Liu said the UN is paying attention to China's efforts in promoting global development, especially China's launch of its Belt and Road Initiative. Liu served as China's Deputy Permanent Representative to the UN from 2006 to 2009. He was also deeply involved for 10 years in climate change negotiations.
The CLP Group, one of Asia's largest energy companies, says it remains focused on delivering low-carbon electricity. The firm made an announcement at its 2017 interim results on Monday.
CLP, one of Hong Kong's two big electricity firms, says it remains on track to meet the Hong Kong government's energy objectives. CLP is building a new 550 megawatt gas-fired generator in support of the government's target to increase natural gas use to about 50% in 2020. Betty Yuan, Vice Chairman of CLP, says the unit will be put into use before 2020. The electricity business in Hong Kong continued to be CLP's major earning contributor in the first half of this year. Operating earnings rose to around $550 million, up 1.9% compared to last year. In mainland China, higher coal prices and overcapacity meant that earnings fell 24% to $91 million. However, there was better news for renewables, which saw revenues rise, powered mainly by CLP's wind projects. CEO Richard Lancaster shrugged off the downturn and said the firm remains committed to low-carbon projects.
I think the overall message is that in both Australia and China we are seeing very challenging market conditions, and one thing that CLP does have is a very strong and robust portfolio, so that we aim to make sure that our businesses are in a good position to ride through difficult periods.
CLP recently acquired a 17% stake in Yanjiang Nuclear Power Company in Guangdong. The move is expected to add over 1,100 megawatts of non-carbon emitting generation capacity to CLP's portfolio, enough to power over 700,000 homes.
The southeastern Chinese city of Xiamen will play host to this year's BRICS summit in September. With the world visiting, the city's tech firms are hoping the event will give a boost to their overseas sales.
With its comfortable climate and tree-lined beaches, Xiamen has long been known as a place to visit for traders and leisure seekers. That's still true today. In recent years, the city has also become a hotspot for internet startups, helped by a good commercial environment provided by the local government. Meitu Incorporation, located in Xiamen Software Park, has been operating in Xiamen since 2008. It produces innovating apps for snapping photos and Photoshop pictures. PR manager Wang Huibing said that over 100 patent rights have been registered with the core product face recognition technology, which enables to detect and identify facial features precisely. Meitu now has more than 500 million overseas users and 450 million active monthly users. It is expanding its terrain to other continents, including Brazil, India, and the United States.
The main reason why the company's products are prevalent all over the world lays in the fact that pursuing beauty is beyond national boundaries despite the cultural differences.
With the BRICS summit in town next month, Meitu is hopeful the thousands of international visitors will help provide new opportunities for local internet enterprises.
The upcoming 2017 China International Fair of Investment and Trade will put great emphasis on the BRICS nations and nations along the route of the Belt and Road.
The 2017 CIFIT will be held from September the 18th to 21st in southeast China's Xiamen City, Fujian Province, after the 9th BRICS Leaders Summit. Delegates from more than 100 countries are expected to take part in this year's fair. The deputy mayor of Xiamen said on Wednesday that a special exhibition will display commodities from BRICS countries and a seminar will be held to discuss the investment opportunities for cross-border e-commerce in those countries.
The BRICS Leader Summit will be held in Xiamen from September the 3rd to 5th, right ahead of the CFIT. The CFIT this year will also take the chance to establish a platform for deepening cooperation between BRICS countries and global investment.
Meanwhile, this year's CIFIT will also feature a series of events on development assistance for Belt and Road countries. The CIFIT was started in 1997 by China. The annual event aims to promote and coordinate development of national and international economy, as well as economic and trade exchanges across the Taiwan Strait.
In less than 30 days, the 9th BRICS Summit will be held in China's coastal city of Xiamen. The organization's role in global governance, a faltering economic recovery, and setbacks in globalization will be the greatest concern. The event will bring together the leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa in Xiamen from September 3rd to 5th. The Gold BRICS countries, a Chinese translation of BRICS, represent emerging markets and are the voice of the world's developing countries. Strong economic growth means BRICS are now key players in the world economy and in global governance. Together, the five accounted for 23% of the 2016 global economy, almost double their share in 2006. The five have been the source of more than half of global growth in the past 10 years. As the holder of the BRICS presidency this year, China is hosting a series of meetings which usually precedes the Leaders Summit. Trade ministers have met in Shanghai and agreed to unite against protectionism and to do all they can to ensure the survival of the multilateral trade system. In late July, a BRICS security meeting was held in Beijing, with discussions on global governance, anti-terrorism, the internet, energy, national security, and development. In June, finance ministers and central bank governors agreed to strengthen cooperation in several fiscal and financial areas, including the BRICS New Development Bank and regulatory collaboration. Economists said with the progress of the past 10 years and a more inclusive attitude, BRICS are prepared not only for the Xiamen Summit, but for another golden decade to come. Chinese tech giant Xiaomi has grown to be present in over 40 countries and regions. In many of them, it is the market leader. The company has emphasized the importance of new retail to Xiaomi's strategy, with a total of 149 Mi Home stores now open across China. In an exclusive interview with CNC, Xiaomi chairman and CEO Lei Jun said Xiaomi's global business had crossed into an era of rapid growth.
Our mission is to promote the transformation and upgrading of Chinese manufacturing. We changed the mobile phone industry. For 5 years, the domestic mobile phone industry has made rapid progress. Not only Xiaomi, but now at least several of our peers have developed. I think it's our pride. For the money of inferior products, everyone can now buy more high-quality products and people feel happier. I advise them to think buy better, spend less.
In the second quarter of this year, Xiaomi shipped 23 million smartphones, up 70% compared with the first quarter.
Mobile phone is a low-frequency consumption. Even in high-income groups, they annually buy one mobile phone. Ordinary people change their phones once every 2 years. Going to the store only twice a year will leave a high promotion cost. So the subtlety of Xiaomi is to make a combination of 30 low-frequency consumer products for individuals and families. Then the consumer has the interest to buy something in our store every time.
Li Jun attributed the rebound in smartphone sales to enhanced investment in research and development, integration of online and offline retail, as well as growing overseas expansion. He said Xiaomi plans to hire thousands of research and development professionals for its smartphone business in the next 12 months and further bolster its innovation capabilities.
More news from China. China's central bank drained 6 billion yuan or $9 billion from the financial system for open market operations Monday.
The People's Bank of China pumped 250 billion yuan into the market through reverse repos, while 310 billion of securities matured Monday, leading to a net withdrawal of 60 billion yuan. The operations included 130 billion yuan of 7-day reverse repos priced to yield 0.45%. and 120 billion yuan of 14-day reverse repos with a yield of 2.6%. It was the third consecutive working day with the drains in the financial system, and attributed the move to elevated pressure on fund supply in the money market. China Securities said that the central bank will likely continue to drain funds from the financial system this week as the liquidity conditions improve. However, it said fund demand rise this month as a large amount of negotiable certificates of deposit, a kind of savings instrument issued by banks, are due to mature in August. China's monetary policy is set to be prudent and neutral in 2017, keeping appropriate liquidity levels and avoiding large injections. Sales of major luxury companies on the Chinese mainland and Hong Kong fell by 2.4% year-on-year in the 2015 financial year. That's according to an industry report released by international auditing and consulting firm Deloitte. The report says the slowing economy has resulted in lower spending, and the central government's crackdown on luxury gifts in the corporate sector continues to have an impact. Nevertheless, demand remains steady among the country's expanding middle class as they continue to buy quality product and showcase their social status with their disposable incomes. As in other emerging markets, price of luxury goods in China are being adjusted downwards to bring them in line with global markets, which is encouraging more Chinese consumers to purchase luxury brands in the domestic market.
China is playing a leading role in global economic development thanks to the new economy. Spurred by the latest round of innovation and technological revolution, the new economy has created new sectors, business models in the country. And the economy shows you some facts and figures on China's development of the new economy. As a major part of the new economy, the digital economy has grown rapidly in recent years. The aggregate of the country's digital economy soared to $3.4 trillion in 2016, accounting for over 30% of the country's GDP. The range of information-intensive products expanded, which now include mobile phones, computers, intelligent internet-connected vehicles, and sharing bikes. The value added of the information industry reached 5.2 trillion yuan in 2016, 8.7% higher on a year-on-year basis, and accounting for 6.9% of the country's GDP. The country's information technology industry yielded income of 1.37 trillion yuan in the first half of 2017, 15.7% year-on-year. E-commerce has maintained relatively rapid growth in the first half of this year. In 2016, China's cross-border e-commerce transaction reached 6.5 trillion yuan, making the country the world's largest cross-border e-commerce market. The country's sharing economy witnessed a total transaction volume of 3.45 trillion yuan in 2016, more than doubling that in 2015, with products ranging from shared bikes and cars to umbrellas and apartments. The aggregate size of China's cloud computing sector reached 150 yuan in 2015. By the end of 2016, there were 60 online 250 million clients nationwide. In 2016, the total value of mobile payments nationwide reached over 157 trillion yuan, up nearly 50% over the previous year. Let's take a look at some company news. Up first, Bitcoin's value has jumped to a record high, following a month of turmoil.
According to the CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index, the currency reached $3,151.86 per coin Monday trade. It had crossed the $3,000 mark until the weekend. The market value of all Bitcoins in existence has now surpassed 56 billion. The surge followed the creation of cryptocurrency Bitcoin Cash last week. The new set is trading below the peak price of $727.54 per coin it attained on August the 2nd. U.S. electric car manufacturer Tesla plans to raise $1.5 billion to fund production of its new model car. Tesla will raise the money by bonds to professional investors, despite the company having $3 billion in cash. The company says it has 518,000 orders for its new car, whose price starts at $5,000. Initial production of the Model 3 started in July, with a target of 400,000 to be made next year.
云天无际，承载梦想。中国南方航空是中国运输飞机最多、航线网络最发达、年客运量最大的航空公司。亚洲第一，全球第三，是南航缔造的业界奇迹。 蓝天壮志情，云海谱华章。
专业的团队，丰厚的经验。
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to the Lake Cook Law Group.
投资理财、法律咨询，芝加哥专业律师团队为您的梦想提供最安全保障。
Hello everyone, welcome to China Mosaic. I'm Pan Zheng in Beijing. During the annual meeting of China's top legislature, the National People's Congress, the Chinese government announced the 2006 government budget was approved. It raised the defense budget by 7.6% to 954 billion yuan, or about 146 billion US dollars. This is the lowest increase in 6 years, and such a single-digit rise is rare. Despite a modest increase, China's defense budget remains the second largest in the world. So does it sound alarming? No, because as China has a population of nearly 1.4 billion, multiplying any figure by 4 billion, you will get an enormous number. Actually, the proportion of China's defense budget to the GDP has been hovering around 1.3% since 2010. This is relatively low in a world, as the figure is usually as high as 4% in the United States and 2% in most Western countries. From a per capita perspective, the figure is even lower in China, equivalent to only 1/5 of that of Japan and 1/20th of the United States. Last September, Chinese President Xi Jinping announced to cut the country's 2.3 million strong army by 300,000. This is not an easy job. It will cost a large part of this year's defense budget. Besides, sizing the army is aimed at improving the army's quality and functions, which also cost a good amount of. China has gradually reduced its reliance on the troops' size in the pursuit of national security. The goal is very simple: to build a modern army able to keep the country safe and promote peace in the world. That's it for this edition of China Mosaic. In Beijing. Bye.